Sunday night and you're live from the point. The weekend's fading, bikes are in the shed. Got stories of the open road running through my head. From six gaps curves to a tale of the dragon run. The riding is over, but the talking's just begun. It's fellowship, fatherhood, and freedom we share. Got your questions and comments right here on the air. So pull up a chair and let's get it right. Live from the point on a Sunday night. Thanks for stopping by to visit with me. I know there's plenty more out there for us to see. If you like what you're seeing, smash subscribe for me. It's fellowship, fatherhood, and freedom we share. Got your questions and comments right here on the air. So pull up a chair and let's get it right. Live from the point on a Sunday night. It's fellowship, fatherhood, and freedom we share. Got your questions and comments right here on the air. So pull up a chair and let's get it right. Live from the point on a Sunday night.
All right. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Live from the Point. And sorry about that. A minute ago, we were having some problems with just having some technical problems. But I think we got all that sorted out at this point. All right. Yeah, I think we got all this sorted out at this point, maybe. So if you were watching the other live stream, sorry about that. It's just, you know, things happen. We're still working on getting all the bugs worked out here. So thank you for bearing with me. So again, we'll go through the announcements once again. Big news is that as of last night, we are now at that 1,000 subscriber mark. So for all y'all that have come along, joined, subscribed, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for your love, support, all that stuff. Getting to 1,000 subs is really awesome. It's an amazing goal, and I don't know what else to say other than thank you. Thank you so much. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Looking forward to the next goal. I'm aiming for 2,500 subs. So let's get after it, y'all, and get after that 2,500 subscribers. Next up, we got BAM, the Bama Motovlogger Meetup. That's going to be September 19th through the 21st of 2025. Looking forward to seeing y'all there. Recently had confirmation from Blue Bike in Doyle, that he's going to be there, and I have rumors that Ray Gregory Rides is going to be there. And I think Rolling with T-Bone said he was going to be there too. So we got a couple other YouTubers that are going to show up and be a part of this too. It's not just yours truly. Again, I will be there. So look forward to seeing all y'all there at BAM this fall. In other news, we got a couple of other good videos that have dropped. And if we got time left over in the hour at the end of this, we'll go over some of that stuff. But there'll be some pretty awesome videos, as well as some time-sensitive stuff that's dropping. So if you haven't already checked out the channel, go back, look at some of the other videos that are here on the channel. And the whole goal here is to provide timely information to all y'all. So just stay tuned for some cool information coming out here shortly. Really trying to put out some good videos for all y'all's consumption. So let's move on to the topic for tonight, and I guess that topic is going to be the one that got away. So everyone has got that one that got away in their life one way or the other, and then for some folks it's true of both women and motorcycles, but tonight we're going to be talking about motorcycles. But before we do that, let's go through real quick and pay for this thing. I do want to let y'all know that I do have a affiliate program. I have affiliate program with several different awesome brands. One of those brands is Eagle Lights. So if you're looking for lighting upgrades for your motorcycle, your ATV, anything like that, you go to eaglelights.com. They've got a good bunch of different upgrades for Harley Davidson, Indian. They've got upgrades for Kawasaki, like my Vulcan Voyager. We got lighting upgrade kits over there. Go to eaglelights.com. Use promo code Burroughs Point at checkout for 15% off your entire order. That's promo code Burroughs Point at checkout for 15% off your entire order at eaglelights.com. So, again, we're going back to the one that got away. So I have had several motorcycles in my lifetime, and I think all of them that I've ridden, I've loved every one of them. I've never had a motorcycle where I absolutely hated it, didn't want to have any part of it and got rid of it. Was like, thank goodness, I want to be rid of this thing, what have you. I don't think I've ever had that kind of experience, but I do remember one motorcycle, and I regret selling. Really, I regret selling two motorcycles, but the number one motorcycle I regret selling, and we all make decisions in our life for various reasons. I thought that this was a good move at the time, but I really regret selling this. Is after I moved back to Alabama and wanted to get back into motorcycle riding, I bought myself a 2011 Honda ST1300. And if you're not familiar with this is Honda's sport touring motorcycle. This is what they had that a lot of people call the mini Goldwing. It was 1300 cc's, capable, had an adjustable windshield, would go up and down. It was an amazing little scoot. And I rode the crap out of that thing. So I bought it. I bought it shortly after moving down, and basically started riding it. My whole goal was to start burning miles and ride around. And I knew I didn't want a sport bike. So I had kind of gotten to that conclusion. I knew I didn't want a sport bike, but then again, I was coming off the heels. The last bike I had owned before that was a Honda Shadow 750. So I said I wanted something with a little bit more displacement than a 750cc. Never have owned a sport touring motorcycle before, so let's give that a go and see what that's like. And so I bought that Honda ST1300, and at the time I was living in Tuscaloosa and commuting to Montgomery every day for work. So that, and I it's a murderous commute. If if anyone's curious, that's a 2 hour drive one way. And so, and I was in a job where it made complete sense to do that. So, I basically just did it for a little while. And I was driving a truck back and forth, and I was getting just shut down on gas on that. And then I had a Prius for a little while, and then one night on the way home, someone hit my Prius, so damaged it up really good, and finally the transmission just gave out on it. So eventually I come to the conclusion of, let's try commuting on a motorcycle. One of the best decisions I had ever made. That 2 hour commute was pretty rough. It was pretty rough, and I did not like it in a car. But riding a motorcycle for 2 hours really helped a lot. Actually, make that commute a lot better. And so I rode that thing on my commute back and forth. I rode it. I rode it around, just around different rides. Rode it through Selma, the Highway 80, through the Civil Rights Trail. Rode it out, interstate riding, a whole bunch of other places. But I didn't really tour on it as much as I do on my current motorcycles. And but that was the one that really got me back into riding. And I wanted to. I really basically wanted to get back into riding. And I went to go move down here to Alex City, and I had gotten it in my mind that I wanted to get myself a proper touring bike. Really, my main complaint about the ST 1300 was the riding position on it. I've got a little bit of a, it was not an uncomfortable riding position, but I wanted to be able to stretch my legs out. That was my main complaint, is to be able to stretch out my legs, and there was no modification for the ST 1300s that was. So people, when these bikes were in production, because by the time I had bought one, they had already been long since out of production. But while they were in production, people were modifying them, putting, I guess they were calling them knives on one of the supports out front, and kind of putting their feet up on those. And that was the thing to do back then. Well, this had been out of production for so long. These knives and other accessories were long since out of production. You couldn't really get them. So there was no way for me to really modify the ST 1300 in order to really, put my legs out and ride for long, long distances. But that bike was a great medium range, short range, kind of commuter around bike. And I had the Givey top box on it. I had, lockable saddlebags. I had all those things. So she was a really nice accessorized bike. She was a pretty, pretty silver color too. Really, really enjoyed that motorcycle. But I ended up trading it for some work, actually, for someone to do some work here in my house. And the flooring that's in this room actually was part of the trade to do work to, put in some flooring and do some other things around the house. And, I'm glad that I got flooring and stuff out of it. But now that I look back on it, I really wish that I had just paid cash for that work and had, kept my motorcycle, because that was a fun little bike. I really regret selling it. Now, I had seen it later on Facebook Marketplace and just wasn't in a position to buy it back because I would have. And it was on sale for more than, I'd say that I got more labor out of it than the actual cash value, but and what they were wanting for it, it wasn't worth it. But, it's one of those things. I should have just never sold it in the first place. And so, if you're getting pressured to sell your motorcycle, you got to think about it, right? Because I guess the way that I was taught, that I came up with, is there are certain things you just don't sell. You don't sell, like firearms, for example. Like, I was always raised up that you don't sell firearms. You just kind of keep them, and you might buy more, but you never sell them, right? You might trade them, you might give them to a family member who has a claim on them, but you don't outright just sell them. And so that's kind of where, I had landed with it on motorcycles is, you know what, I might trade one in. I might, upgrade to a different motorcycle, but I'm not going to sell one outright just unless there's some extenuating circumstances. And I say that I got my Honda R1200 CLC, not Honda, sorry, BMW 1200 CLC up for sale, and I'd probably sell it. But then again, on that particular bike, I don't feel an attachment to it that I do some of my other motorcycles I've ridden in my life. So there's that. So let's go to the chats real quick. Just had a couple things pop up while we're here. Ray Gregory, hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. Ray Gregory is another content creator. If you guys didn't know that, he's got his own YouTube channel. So check him out if you haven't already done so. But he is another one of the guys that's going to be there for BAM, allegedly. I've heard rumors. Ray Gregory, if you're going to be there at BAM, go ahead and put that in the chat. Would love to see if you're going to be there or not. But yeah, he's rumored to be coming to BAM. So y'all look out for him. Again, that's going to be in September time frame. So. All right, that seems to be it for the chats. So, the last couple of live streams I did, I didn't have anything to drink, and I was dying by the end of it. So, we're learning here. We're improving. We are adapting to our conditions that we've got going on in here. So, anyhow, yeah. So Ray Gregory, if you're coming to BAM, just let us know. I'm sure the folks would like to know. So I mentioned earlier in the cast that there were two motorcycles I actually regretted selling. So that would be the main one, is that Honda ST 1300. I loved that bike, and come to think of it. Now that I think back on it, I really could have done some massive touring on that bike. I could have done some real show enough touring on that bike. And that was a bike that had a lot of ground clearance. So, you're talking about cutting up roads like the Tail of the Dragon, or even Highway 25, the Alabama Dragon from Leeds to Vincent. Talking about cutting up one of those rides, that would have been a great little bike for that particular route. So, yeah, that was a mistake. That was a mistake selling that motorcycle. But you live and you learn, and I won't be in a position to have to do that again, hopefully. But the other bike that I regret selling was my second bike, and that was my Honda Shadow 750. So that's the bike that I owned for a good little while. I bought it when I was living up in Washington State and had done a ton of riding on that bike all over the place. Rode the Cascade Loop with it, rode up and down Baker, goodness knows how many times. Rode out towards Rainier. Goodness gracious. When I left the military was out for that, 3-month period essentially at the end of my military service. That's the bike that I took all over the Pacific Northwest and even into the Inland Empire. Let's see. Yeah, rode Washington, Montana, Idaho, dipped down into Wyoming for a little bit. But I rode all over the freaking place with that thing and just kind of wandered around both the Inland Empire and, out towards the coast of the Pacific Northwest. I think I dipped down to Oregon at some point in time. But yeah, it was, that was a good little jaunt. So I had that bike and I covered some miles on that bike. Me and that bike, we went a lot of different places. Took it to the Oyster Run a couple times. Well, I think both years I went to the Oyster Run. that was the bike that I took over there, and it was man, I love that little thing. It would go. It had, it had some power. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a smaller displacement bike, and getting up the mountain could be a little bit of a challenge. Going up Stevens Pass, going up Snoqualmie Pass could be a little bit of a challenge, but it's all about how you compensate and how you manage it. Just get a bunch of speed built up before you start ascending the mountain and just hold the throttle wide open. That was kind of my trick, but I loved that little bike. And now that, it's 2025, I would have sold that bike. I think I sold that bike like 10 years ago. Probably, golly, I'm sitting here trying to remember. I probably sold that bike had to have been 2013 timeframe. Something like that. 2013, 2014 timeframe, if I remember correctly. And that, golly, that's we're pushing 15 years. That hurts my heart to think of it that way. But anyhow, that's pushing like 10 to 15 years ago. As I sit here today, I could not tell you why I sold that bike. I wish I could. I can't think of a reason why. It probably was something along the lines of I had intended to upgrade. I think I had intended to upgrade and just had sold it and put the money away, and the money just got used. If I could remember correctly, that's probably what ended up happening. So, I don't. That was probably poor planning on my part. It's one of those things that happens. But if I'd had it to do over with, I probably would have just traded it in, because that probably would have been the better move. If I remember correctly, I sold it to like the Cycle Barn in. I can't think of the name of the town. Arlington, Washington, somewhere between Mount Vernon and Everett. There's like a motorcycle dealership over there. That's who I would have sold it to. But man, that little motorcycle though, I think what did it in for me is I had that thing tricked out. I had pegs on it. I had an awesome windshield. I had all the accessories that you needed to tour. I had bags on it. I had all the things. And that I did a video a while back on the best beginner touring motorcycle for someone who's just starting out riding. And that's the basis. That particular motorcycle is the basis and the reason why I say that a Honda Shadow 750 is a good bike for someone who's just starting out. Because that's what I transitioned from sport bikes. Because I had a, I guess I wouldn't call it necessarily sporty, but it was more like a standard. I had a Kawasaki Ninja 650, and then I transitioned to the Honda Shadow. So just coming off of a sport bike type platform, that was my first cruiser, and that's what really got me hooked into touring and cruising and all of those things. And so that bike, as I bebop around town where I am currently, I think about, I don't regret buying my Voyager. I want to make that clear. I like my Voyager. It's a great bike, but when I get on it and I get it out of the cycle shell and I back down my driveway and I get ready to get on it and go down the street, I'm like, oh my gosh, this big old bike, this big old bike is so big and so heavy. I wish I had something just to zip around on. I wish I had something I could just go down the street on. That for me, that Honda Shadow 750 would be the perfect bike for that, right? Every bike has its purpose. And so whereas that Voyager is what I would take to climb mountains and get, go halfway across the country on, I could do it on a Honda Shadow 750, but I might want to just take that down the street to go get pancakes. You know what I'm saying? So, that bike, I really liked that bike, and I enjoyed riding it, and I regret selling that one too. That one was a fun little bike, and I just hate that I sold it. But, again, you live and you learn, and you don't make that mistake again. So, if you're joining us in the comments, if you're over here watching, why don't you drop a comment in the chat, or if you are, if you're watching this video after the fact, after it gets posted, leave a comment below. Tell me, what bike do you regret selling? Did you have a bike? Do you regret selling it, or do you regret getting rid of it, trading it in? Did you have a bike that you loved that you wrecked out? Tell us your story. I'd love to hear it. We could talk about that here in the here on the video on the live stream, or we can talk about it later in the comments. But I would like to know, what is your experience? Because again, everyone's got that bike, that they regret getting rid of. And I just told you the two of mine. If I had it to go over with again, if I had a choice between the two, if I could get one of them back tonight, I think the one that I would probably want to get back the most is probably would be that Honda Shadow. Just because I've got so much invested in it in terms of memories, not necessarily money invested in it, because the bike is, it's not worth that much to begin with. I can't even remember what year model it was, but it's one of those things that I had a lot emotionally invested into it, and it's a good little bebopper, good little bike to bebop around on. And honestly, if I wasn't in a position to buy a new touring bike, that's not what I was aiming for, I'd probably be looking for a smaller displacement bike just to bebop around town on. It's something like that. So, Motorbomb Virginia, thank you for dropping in. He's another content creator. He's out of Virginia. He's actually one of the ones that will be at VAM, the Virginia Motorcycle Meetup. But I can't talk tonight. The Virginia Motorcycle Meetup. They're actually meeting here shortly, July 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. So if you're up in Virginia, look up him. I know he's talked a lot about it on his YouTube channel. Blue Bike and Doyle has talked about it a lot on his YouTube channel. So yeah, if you're going to be, if you're in the Virginia area or have any gumption or notion to head out that way, check those guys out at VAM. That's going to be happening again, July 9, 10, 11. So, yeah. Yeah, Motobomb Virginia. Thank you for that. Congratulations. Man, it's crazy to me that we got to 1,000 subs, but I am stoked, pleased, and happy to be able to have gotten here. And it's all because of y'all's help, the audience, the viewing audience. I appreciate all y'all's help, love, and support. It's great. It's been a fun ride, and I look forward to many, many more adventures here on the YouTubes. So, yeah, appreciate it. Let's see. So, train of thought. Right. So that Honda Shadow, she and I had a lot of memories together. And so, that's one, again, I would like to just be able to take down the street and come back, when I'm not wanting to get out on my big old touring bike. But that Honda ST though, that what really gets me about that is I would have loved to have just figured out the performance on it, just how fast. Let me temper this a little bit. How would it have tackled the curves? Like I know on my big touring bike, when I go down Highway 25, I'm scraping the pegs the whole way through. And when I went to VAM, when we were riding 6-gap, I know if you talk to any of the guys that were riding with me that day at GAM, I believe I even said it on one of the videos that's going to be released here shortly. I said highway or the scraper pegs, the little wear pads that are on the bottom of your floorboards. So yeah, they're a consumable item because But I would have loved to have found out, instead of being on my big touring bike where you're scraping the crap out of your floorboards, I would have loved to have found out just how that sport touring bike would have eaten the curves. So much so that I've actually entertained the thought of trying to find another ST. I know that the Concourse 14 is another candidate. There's a lot of folks who've talked about those, but like I said earlier, I'm still in that mode of trying to buy a big touring bike. So we won't be doing that anytime soon. So, but yeah, that ST would have been nice to have back as well. Going back to the chats. Yeah, here's the thing is, Motorbomb Virginia says you got them in a good way too. And I think so. There's a few YouTube creators out there who, go out and spam their channel in whatever arena that they can get to. And they do so and they really kill their engagement. They build a community kind of. Well, let me rephrase that. They build a subscribership, but they fail to build a community. And through the Burroughs Point YouTube channel, I think we've done a very good job, or I have done a very good job of trying to get a group of folks together to foster that sense of community. And I think we've got a great little community going on here. And the other thing too is the audience here on this particular channel is engaged, and I like it. I like to be able. I like the fact that I can come on here and put out a video, and we can talk about it in the comments, or we can talk about it here in the live chat, and we can kind of work through some of our stuff or work out some ideas or things of that nature. So I really do. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that idea and that fact. So. So we got a little bit of a late start. I'm going to try to adhere to this 8:30 cutoff. We might go a little bit past that if we get a good conversation going on in the comments. And I do apologize for having to start late. Like I said, it's technical difficulties. What can you do? But so those are, like I said, those are my, those are the motorcycles that I regret getting rid of. It's one of those things. You live and you learn. But so one of the other things I wanted to bring up tonight, and this is going to be a little bit off topic, but it's something that's come up since this live stream was scheduled, and I think it's important here to the rider community. I've talked about it in a video that I just released this afternoon. And like I said, I think it's important to the community. So what I want to let y'all know is that I'm going to preface all this by stating that I don't care about your politics. This is not a political channel. We don't talk about a lot of political stuff here on this channel, but I do talk about current events that do affect motorcycle riders. And so one of the things that has come up that I saw was that Congress is kicking around the what's been nicknamed as the Big Beautiful Bill. And if you've been living under a rock, it's the big tax bill, tax relief bill, whatever you want to call it, that's being kicked around Congress right now. That is one of the key pieces of legislation that's coming up this congressional session. And one of the provisions that is in the Big Beautiful Bill is a relief for folks who are financing a car. There is an opportunity for relief for the taxes on your car note. I'm sorry, not the taxes, the interest on your car note. They're going to make it to where you can write that off on your income taxes. Well, there's a version of this that went through the House where they are going to allow you to deduct your interest on your motorcycle note from your income taxes. So that made it out of the House of Representatives. It's currently going to the Senate, where there's some rumor that's probably going to get cut out of the final bill. I will be watching this story and reporting on it more as this story develops and as this process continues. I know that they're talking about rushing this to a vote before July 4th, so keep an eye on that. If you're in the market for a motorcycle, that may or may not affect your decision. And for more information, check out that video that I did. I just posted it this afternoon, so check out that video. It's got some more information on the big beautiful bill and what that exactly means, as well as some of the commentary from a couple of unlikely sources that are fighting on your behalf. So check that out. I think the title of the video is Big Beautiful Bike. Just like I said, check it in my recent videos. It's out there. So, let's see. Right. So that's important, by the way. I think that's going to be a big thing for a lot of folks if you are maybe looking at purchasing a motorcycle or had to want to go buy a motorcycle. That's something that may entice you to buy a particular brand, but main thing is go check that video out. It's got all the information on that potential thing. Let's see. Let's go back to the chats again. All right. Well, no new chats. So, like I said, if you're watching this video after the fact, leave a comment below and let us know, what was your regret? What motorcycle do you regret getting rid of? What were the circumstances behind it? Did you sell it? Did you trade it in? Did you wreck it out? What ended up happening? Let us know. We'd love to discuss that further. And then again, here on the Burroughs Point YouTube channel, we've got a few great stories that are coming up. Great videos are coming up on some news stories that have to do with some of the current events in the motorcycle community, motorcycle culture. Keep an eye out for some of those videos. Some of them will be fun, entertaining, informative. That's what we're aiming for here, is to be that resource for you. I scour the news so y'all don't have to. So, yeah, just keep in tune for that, and we'll try to put out that information in a way that's entertaining, fun, and all that stuff. Motorbomb says, sorry, busy as all. I heard some of that vid about the tax and not being a political channel. Yeah, we don't do this, and I've always said this. I've said this a bunch of different ways. This channel is not a political channel, first of all, and I don't care about your politics because your motorcycle doesn't care about your politics, and neither does the open road. So that's all we care about here, is we want to talk about motorcycles, our shared love of the open road, and again, the key tenets of this motorcycle channel, or the key tenets of this YouTube channel: freedom, fatherhood, and man, I can't, my brain is screwed up tonight, is fatherhood, fellowship, and freedom. So anyhow, which, some of that, like I said, we don't even go. We won't even go to some of that. We won't get into any of that. But yeah, the main thing is though is that just keep an eye on that. It may affect your decision whether you want to buy a new motorcycle or not. What kind of brand do you want to buy? Just check that out. Check that video out. We got the information there for you. So, for those of you who are just joining us, like I said, we're here tonight talking about the motorcycles that the one that we want to talk about, the one that got away. We're not talking about women. We're talking about motorcycles. What was a motorcycle that you sold, you got rid of? What ended up happening to that bike? Why did you get rid of it? Throw it up there in the chat or in the comments below if you're watching this afterwards. Love to chat about that some more. But yeah, just tell us your story. Like I said, we talked about mine earlier in this live stream. My first bike, I don't really regret getting rid of that much. And the reason why for that is that when I first bought that particular motorcycle, I thought I wanted to be a sport bike guy. And I ended up getting the 650R. I'm trying to remember what year model it was. It had to have been, I bought it brand new, and I bought it new in 2004, 2005 time frame. And if I remember correctly, it had just been released. Like the model had just been released or something, just gotten updated or something along those lines. But I bought it because I wasn't sure that I wanted a full send, lean over type of sport bike. I wanted something I could ride around on and be comfortable, but I thought I wanted something that was had sport bike DNA, if that makes sense. And as I got into it, as I rode it, as I put miles on it, I quickly realized that this was not the type of riding for me, that I didn't enjoy riding like that, and that what I really wanted to do was burn miles. And so I ended up outright selling it, if I remember correctly. And that bike, it was all right. It got me started. It absolutely got me started in riding motorcycles. And I rode that thing all around Hawaii. I was stationed in Hawaii when I bought it, when I was in the military, and rode that thing all around Oahu and loved every minute of it. So when I went to go sell it and I moved to Washington State, I moved to Washington State and was riding around a lot up there. And it just wasn't a comfortable ride for the much, much longer rides that were present up there in Washington. So that was one of the main reasons why I ended up selling it and ended up getting that Honda Shadow, is because I could burn a lot more miles on that Shadow than I ever could on that Kawasaki Ninja. So, which, that was a fun little bike, but just wasn't the correct type of riding for me. So, but and then as far as the motorcycles I have now, I've got my Kawasaki Voyager. I've done a lot of talking about acquiring a brand new motorcycle. It's the first, I haven't bought a new motorcycle, brand spanking new, 0 miles on it motorcycle, since I bought that Ninja, my first one. And so, what will I do with the Voyager when I buy a new motorcycle? I don't know. I like the Voyager. It's a good little bike. I'm half tempted to keep it, kind of in line with what I talked about earlier. I'm half tempted to keep it and ride it, as a backup motorcycle or what have you. I have half a mind to trade it in on whatever I ended up buying, but the trade value on it's going to be next to nothing. Is it, the question I have to ask myself at that point in time, is it worth more in my garage than it is on a trade-in? That's a good question. And then as far as the BMW 1200 CLC, it's currently up for sale at Basic Cycle in Noonan, or not Noonan, in I can't think of the name of that town. Carrollton. It's up for sale in Carrollton, Georgia, right now. So, one, if you're in the market for a BMW 1200 CLC, go hit up Basic Cycle in Carrollton. They got one for sale. The other thing is that what will I do with it? I bought it because I wanted to try out that Boxer engine. It's just not for me. And so that's one I won't regret selling. And it's just because it was fun. I've done videos on it. I've ridden, there's a couple videos that I have here posted on my channel. I've ridden Tail of the Dragon on it. I've done a lot of riding on that bike, but, it's just not for me. So I'm not going to regret selling that bike. It's a good little bike, but, it's time to move on from that one. So I probably would be more apt to trade that one in than my Voyager. But yeah, if I do get rid of my Voyager, it's not going to be the one that got away. Because at the end of the day, I do think that ST 1300 is the one for me that really got away. Although I do miss the Shadow, I think that ST 1300 is really the one that got away. But, I guess I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I gotta do some thinking, some soul searching, and figure it all out. So, all right. So here, as we come to the end of our time here tonight, again, I want to thank all y'all that's come along on this ride. It's been a heck of a ride. It's been a great experience so far. Thank you for watching Burroughs Point YouTube, for being a part of Burroughs Point Nation, and I look forward to many, many more rides, talking about a lot more stuff with y'all. Love hanging out and talking about some of this stuff. And my aim is to become a resource and a source of information and entertainment for y'all. I know there's a lot of people, have, let me rephrase that. Not that there's a lot of people, but people have a lot of different options for entertainment. I know as a YouTube content creator, I'm competing with other YouTube creators. I'm competing with AI junk videos, which we talked about that last week. I'm competing with sleep, because there was a study, that was a psychology study that was done a while back that said basically, different types of entertainment, what types of entertainment do you enjoy? And sleep was actually on there. So we're competing with sleep, y'all. But I know that y'all can make a decision on where you want to spend your hard-earned time and your leisure time, what you want to watch. And I appreciate the fact that y'all want to watch Burroughs Point YouTube. Y'all, it's been an amazing ride, and I thank you, all of y'all, for coming along this crazy ride with me. And again, I'm looking to have many, many more to come. So, so again, if you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment in the comments of this video. Love to know what bike for you was the one that got away, and just look forward to having a discussion there in the comments. So next week, we'll come back again for another episode of Live from the Point. I will announce it here shortly. Again, I apologize earlier for the technical difficulties we experienced, but we're still ironing out. This is episode 4, right? So we're still ironing out the kinks and the bugs and all the other mess that's associated with all this. So make sure to bear with us for next week. We're gonna have another episode of Live from the Point, and we'll aim for another engaging topic. So look out for that. The announcement should be out here shortly. And we're going to keep in this same time slot. This seems to be working, this 7:30 to 8:30 time slot. So we'll be back in this time slot next week, 7:30 to 8:30 Central Time on Sunday night. Burroughs Point YouTube. I guess, yeah, Burroughs Point here on YouTube. But anyhow, man, check the chats one more time. Yep, I don't see anything here. So anyhow, thank you for all y'all for watching. Look forward to seeing y'all next week. Looking forward to chatting with you next week. Share the word with all your friends. Let them know about our live stream. Again, we're live every Sunday night from 7:30 to 8:30. We'll keep this time slot until further notice. If something comes up, or if I can shift my schedule around a little bit, and we could change time slots, or maybe add some additional live streams, I'd be down with that. But let's see if we can. I got to work all that stuff out. But let everyone else know about the live stream when we're live. Have them come and join. We'd love to have a lively discussion here in the comments. And yeah, I just love hanging out with y'all, really and truly. That's what it boils down to. So anyhow, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch all y'all on the next video.